Good, you too. Quinn Wade coming to y'all with that basketball analysis on analysisplayground.com and on YouTube. I'm going to give y'all my top 10 players in the NBA, and after this, I'm going to give my top 5 players for every position. This is just a fun little list that I like to update every blue moon because it usually doesn't change that much in the 5 and the 10 situations. Usually be debatable or close enough to where you threading needles to get it right. I feel like I got it right for the most part, and it's just for fun. And we're gonna start off at number 10, Anthony Davis. He's still one of the best big men and best players in the world. One of the best defenders. One of the best rim protectors. A guy that can still get you 20 points. A guy that can still get you 20 and 10. A guy that can still get you a double double with the blocks, with the steals, and leave that type of impact. And he has really became a B instead of the number one player on the option on the team the last couple of years. But he's a champion, and the Lakers are still competitive, and he is a big part of that reason because he is that great. Now, a lot of people would say I haven't really thought about it like that because Anthony Davis hasn't really shown me nothing crazy as he used to back when he was in New Orleans. Well, you got to remember this is a team sport. Every player not going to just do the same thing individually. You have to give them credit for what they bring to the table consistently. And when it comes to a guy that does it since he's been in the second year of his career, he's been one of the most dominant bigs in the league when healthy, and you have to give him credit for that. And he has expanded his game even in the playoffs, and he has had, a great track record that way too. So when it comes to regular season and playoffs, he stands, among some of the greatest. That's why he's a top 75 player of all time already before he was even 30. It shows you how great Anthony Davis' career is. It shows you why they took him number one in New Orleans and traded him to the Lakers, got them a title right away and kept them in contention for a couple years before they fell from grace. Even though they still is a contender, depending on who they playing against, depending on what matchup, depending on what roster they have, as it is a team sport. Like I said before, Anthony Davis has always been one of the best players if you can get him on the court, and that's something that you got to give him credit for, whether you're a fan of him being 10th or not. Steph Curry, a lot of people going to say that's low. Well, Steph isn't the greatest defender. His scoring has been down a little bit. His team chemistry hasn't been as great as it usually does. But like Steve Kerr said out of his mouth, this might be the last days of the Warriors being a contender in the NBA. And he was the first person that I seen say it because players don't want to admit that. Players don't want to say that. Players don't want to feel that way, especially when they got pride and they got work ethic that allows them to be one of the greatest in the world. And that hasn't stopped Steph Curry from still being one of the best in the world and one of the greatest players of all time, as he also is a top 75 player ever, and he's a multiple time champion and a finals MVP. But he's starting to get the nagging injuries. He's starting to lose some of that efficiency, and he's starting to lose, that luster that made him great, especially when it comes to carrying the team. And they missed the playoffs again, and it's just not a good look for Golden State right now. And he is a part of that, but at least he had him in position to make it, and that's all you can ask for your franchise player is to give it his all, do the best he can, lead by example. And I feel like Steph still checked those boxes as a guy that has done it before, and just coming back to reality with his body and his team not being as strong as it used to be. Kevin Durant, I have him at number 8. He's a little bit better than Steph. He's just taller, longer. He simplified his game a lot, so it's easier for him to just shoot over defenders and make easy baskets or rebound the ball solidly, play enough defense to where people can't get too happy on him because he'll challenge it or he has the length to block it with ease if he really wants to. He's just more nonchalant. He's more accomplished. He's one of the top 75 greatest players ever. So he has already got that mentality of I've been there, I've done that, I've seen this, I've seen that. I know exactly what I'm trying to do when I'm on the court. I know exactly what I'm trying to do as a teammate. And, he just don't have the same aggression. He doesn't have the same motivation. Um, as a player. You can see it in his press conference. You can see how he conducts his business. You can see how he plays. It don't seem like he got that same fire in his belly because he's so relaxed out there and he lets the game comes to him, and that's why he still torches people offensively. But when we call talking about a defender, when we talking about one of the best players that can do everything on the court, he's one of the players that could do it. He doesn't necessarily does it every game outside of getting buckets. LeBron James, he has declined, but to be 39 years old and still mentioned as one of the top 10 players in the world is huge. He's a top 75 greatest player ever. He's a top 10 player. Matter of fact, he's one of the top 5 greatest players and on my Mount Rushmore for greatest players in NBA history. He is the greatest small forward ever to play basketball, and he is LeBron Ramon James, a guy that can pass, a guy that can rebound, a guy that can score, a guy that has one of the best leadership hats in the game, and a guy that just knows how to win games and keep yourself in the game to give you an opportunity to win. And that's all your best player can offer you. I can keep you in this game. I can keep you focused. I can lead by example, and I can get W's if you put the right talent around me. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. And that's what your franchise player is supposed to do. And for him to still be able to do it at this level and be known as one of the best still in the game, this is something that's new. But it's not new for LeBron because he doesn't cheat the game. He wants to play the game the right way. He wants to dominate in a similar fashion like he always has. And if you know your game and you know your bread and butter and you know what you can do and what you can't do, and you can just capitalize only on what you want to do, that's how you become a franchise player. And he still has that in his blood. He still has that in his DNA. And he's a great player because of that. And Jason Tatum, I have at number 6. He's still emerging. I feel like the playoffs kind of hurt his stock a little bit. Didn't really play the greatest. Didn't really play that much dominant. But he has been really, really good the last couple of regular seasons. I know he played the good, the bad, and the ugly in the regular season. So some games you're just going to be torching bad teams. And you still have to do it against the great teams. And we haven't really seen him do it enough when it matters most. But he had Jaylen Brown that picked up some of that slack. Drew Holiday, Derrick White, and those guys are on that team for that particular reason. And there's nothing wrong with, going all in on those type of guys and allowing yourself to be able to win a title knowing that it's not needed for you to do it. But he might have a situation this year where teams are more stacked. They have more defenders getting traded a lot. They have more teams ramping up to give Boston another challenge. And now we need Tatum to go back to being that all NBA player in the regular season, but also in the postseason. And if he does that, he'll be moving up this list, probably even to number 1. But as of right now, he's one of the youngest players in this list, and he's one of the best scorers in this list, and one of the best rebounders on this list. And we'll see if he can continue to develop. Number 5, I have Embiid. I didn't like him being too high because he still only played 39 games. He still is dominant. He still does score a lot. He is kind of hogging the ball a little bit too much. He is kind of always injured. He doesn't have the playoff resume as some guys, but the numbers don't lie to you. This guy can get it done. He does it his way, and he figures out how he's going to get it done. His defense has slipped a little bit, but other than that, this is one of the best offensive players, one of the best rebounders, and one of the solid rim protectors in the league, and one of the best post defenders. Like, you can put him in the post one-on-one, and it's going to be tough to score on him, in general. But he still has his own flaws. He still has his own problems he got to work out, especially with his body. And he's still going to have a lot more playoff success if he wants to continue to climb up my list personally. But at least he makes it every year. At least he has the numbers every year. The only problem is him staying healthy and him dominating on both ends of the court consistently. Other than that, Joel Embiid questions are just that small. Shea Gilgeous, you lead a team number 1. You get him out the first round. Although you did disappoint not getting him any further, it was only your first round with Jalen Williams and Chet all on the same team. That's the team aspect of it. But when we talk about a guy that can score, get to the rim, rebound, pass, efficiency, Shea Gilgeous is all of the above at the guard position. And I love what I see out of him. I love how he understands what he's supposed to do. He gives you those looks like nobody can guard him, nobody can stop him, which is more of the truth. And then you look at the numbers. This guy does it so easy, so effectively that he lulls people to sleep with this game. And there's nothing you can really do to actually stop this guy. In the playoffs, he even showed that. And if his teammates stepped up a little bit more and defended a little bit better, they'd be a team that can possibly get to the finals. But we don't need to reminisce on the past too much, as they have one of the brightest futures in OKC, and he has a lot to teach and show these guys in the starting lineup and off the bench, so that way they can continue to compete for something like a championship, which they actually rebuilding for, and it makes sense to rebuild around this guy so far. Luka Doncic, number three. When you have the regular season that you have had, and you have a playoff run like you have had, that at this age, this is how you get up this high, because you're doing something that most people shouldn't or couldn't do because they're not ready, or they make excuses, or they don't do the work that he has done when it comes to understanding the game, having a knowledge of the game, and bending some rules for his favor. And most great players do that. But I seen some things I didn't like he was foul harping, he was doing a lot of traveling, a lot of carrying, not really playing defense, quitting a lot, and just going in some hissy fits. And it's a little immature, it's a little childish. Plus, he just doesn't care enough about defense. He doesn't try hard enough. And I feel like he actually got stuck a couple times against certain teams where if he couldn't blow past, he kept trying to find a way to create a foul because he couldn't score. And instead of giving the ball up, he rather just run into somebody, even though it's offensive foul, and try to get a foul that way instead of passing the ball to his teammates. So he has trust issues. He has defensive liability. He turns the ball over a lot. He does stat pad because his team isn't that great, so he's taking advantage of that. He's going to be one of the top 100 greatest players ever when you look at the numbers, and especially because he got a team to the finals. But he has some minor errors in his gameplay and his mentality and how he approaches the game and what he does in the game. But other than that, he's one of the best players you can watch, and he's one of the best players in the game in general. And number two, I got Giannis. I know he missed the last couple of regular season games. I know he missed the playoffs. But when you look at the defense, when you look at the offense, and you look at the fact that he had a legitimate injury, that's the only weakness is, can Giannis shoot the three ball? Can he continue to hit that fadeaway mid range? Can he make his free throws when they matter most? This is a guy that already won MVP, already won Defensive Player of the Year, already won a championship in the Finals MVP, leading the team to a championship. So he has answered all the questions that you want to be answered. But, that's how it goes. You did it once. How many more times can you do it before you hang that jersey up? That's the only question we really looking at for Giannis. Can you stay healthy, and can you get it done again? And that's it, because he done did everything else within 25 to 28 years, and he done did it that fast. Now, can you get back to the top of the mountain? And if you do, can you have a better run than winning one? And now they want to stretch this thing out with Damian Lillard. Can you win with an offensive guard where you have to pick up more defensively? And if so, let's see what happens. Like, we didn't really get to see them in the playoffs, so we can't really judge what they can or can't do because we didn't get even a small sample size of it. But based off the regular season, this is a team that can do some damage to a lot of teams, especially what they picked up at the guard position in free agency. And number one, Nikola Jokic. 2 years MVP, took 1 year off to give it to Embiid, came right back and got the MVP, won a championship. Some people say, can you win a championship with a guy that's not really known as a defender? Can you build a defensive team around him to be able to lead you to a title? Jokic is unstoppable. He can shoot the free throw. He can shoot the mid-range. He can post up left, right hand. He can hit the three. He can put the ball on the floor and score. He can dunk. He can do everything you need offensively. He's okay defensively, but not a liability like people thought, unless you just don't win the title. And his offense is so tough that he can blow you out just by picking you apart offensively, and that just leaves them room defensively to make some mistakes because it's hard to catch up on a team that can consistently score. And that's what the Denver Nuggets does when they under the tutelage and the knowledge and the gameplay of Nikola Jokic. This is the real deal, and I was surprised that a center in a modern era can score and dominate. Now we seeing Towns and the Goberts and the Joel Embiids and the Victor Wembanyama's and the Porzingises get their 20 points their type of way. The modern era is however you can figure it out, and however your game is, that's what you need to work on and expand upon it and see if you can take your game to another level. And one person I know for sure has done it is Jokic. And Giannis is another guy, 6'11", 7 feet, really the same thing. But Jokic is the guy that can do it all, including rebounding, including passing. And he's a guy that is just a genius when it comes to how he execute the decision making on the basketball court. And If I had to pick one guy to build my franchise around and plug some pieces around, he doesn't have the biggest names. He doesn't have another all-star on his roster, and they still won a title. He has some guys that's decent, understands the roles, and that's all they need out of him is the fundamentals. And they check all those boxes, and you win a title. That's one of the toughest things to do, especially when you're going 5-5-5-5, or 5-6-5-5. Whatever you want to call it, that's a dominant run to a championship last year. And this year, they get out of the first round. The team didn't deliver. Jokic was a little absent in those third and fourth quarters. He was chucking up some shots, just couldn't make it. But when you judge the last 5 years, Jokic has been consistently dominating in the regular season and in the postseason. And he's just been consistent throughout the last 5 years. Probably the most consistent person outside of Giannis and Luka and guys like LeBron and KD. But they've been injured and dealing with some minor injuries. And Jokic's been healthy throughout this huge span, not missing nothing but minimum times, and just been a Goliath in the paint and all around player. And it's just a privilege and an honor to watch him play. And I would love to see him as a top 100 player. Should have been top 75, but he definitely will be top 100 basically off winning the title and adding another MVP to his resume. And he has done that all before 32, just like Giannis Antetokounmpo. The only difference is he's still going as a contender, and Giannis got put out in the first round the last 2 years. But it's a team sport, so you can't put it all on Giannis, and I understand that. But that just show you that how good Jokic is, because he did it in the West, and he did it without other All-Stars. And he did get that done, legit. So other than that, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification button. Also, check out my older videos this summer. If you have a lot of free time, or you need something to listen to, or you need something to watch, you got me for that. And like I said, if you subscribe, you can see what my top 5 point guard, shooting guards, small forward, power forwards, and centers, which will be coming up this week. And you can also see other content like that. But that's the purpose of subscribing, and that's the purpose of the notification bell, and that's the purpose of you checking out the old classics if you're new to the channel, or even if you've been a long-term subscriber and you want to go back to those great moments that I have had throughout the years, or you maybe missed one. This is the perfect time to check them out. Other than that, I'm gone.